What's up guys, so if you are somewhat stuck on which Battle Pass LightCone you should pick up, I'll be going over which ones I believe would bring the most value, which may then help you decide. Before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel, would really appreciate it, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Okay, before anything, I'll go over what LightCones I think would bring more value to your account. However, as always, it's your account, so you will need to see exactly what you need to pick up. If you don't run any Erudition characters, there would be no point picking up the Erudition LightCone, as good as it is. Of course, you can pick it up for a character later down the line, but that is completely up to you. Talking about the Erudition LightCone, I believe it is the most valuable one you can pick up from the Battle Pass. After entering battle, it increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy, their damage increasing by 0.2 to 0.4% per point of energy. So going based off just having the LightCone at S1, you would gain an additional 32% increased damage throughout the kit. So that would be your normal attack, skill and ult, and follow-up attacks. So that alone is amazing value, since most of the time you would gain an increased damage only through one aspect of the character's kit, like their skill or something. If you manage to S5 this, it would bump it to an additional 64% increased damage, which is pretty nuts. Erudition characters are pretty prevalent at this point of the game, as characters such as Himiko and Hersa are often used in pure fiction, as they are really good in that game mode. So if you are someone that does use Erudition characters and you need a solid LightCone, this would be a good pickup. The other Erudition LightCones are pretty good, but most are conditional, such as the Birth of the Self, which increases damage dealt by the wearer's follow-up attacks by 24 to 48%. If the current HP of the enemy target is below 50% of the max HP, increases damage dealt by the follow-up attacks by an extra 24 to 48%. Still a good LightCone, but conditional LightCones can become tedious to run. Another reason why the Battle Pass Erudition LightCone is a bit more valuable than the other Battle Pass options is due to some of the other paths having more options, such as in the Herta store, where you can acquire 5-star LightCones. Erudition doesn't have a LightCone in the Herta store yet, unlike Hunt, Preservation, Nihility and Destruction. Sometime soon, I would expect the 5-star Erudition LightCone to drop in Herta store, but till then, the Battle Pass option is amazing as it is. The other Battle Pass LightCone I think would be nice to pick up is the Harmony one, Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds. At the start of battle and whenever the wearer's turn begins, one of the following effects is applied randomly. Either all allies attack increases by 10 to 20%, all allies crit damage increases by 12 to 24%, or all allies energy regeneration rate increases by 6 to 12%. Now I know the RNG aspect might turn some players away from picking up this LightCone, but all of the random effects are very good, so you wouldn't really be in a situation where you're annoyed from getting one over the other. Of course, if you are sweating in a mode, that extra crit damage could have been a bit more useful than the energy buff, so that's a different story. But overall, the fact that this LightCone affects all teammates as well is a massive bonus. So if you are running a dual DPS team, both damage dealers will be able to deal additional damage. So if you are in need of a Harmony LightCone and even run dual DPS comps, this would fit nicely. However, just know there are lots of great options for Harmony when it comes to LightCones. Dance 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 has got to be one of the best LightCones in the game in terms of value. So if you are able to pull that LightCone, it would be much better. If you have multiple Harmony characters on your team and already have Dance 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 on one of them, picking up Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds could be a good idea then. As for the Hunt LightCone, Return to Darkness, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12 to 24%, and after a crit hit, there is a 16 to 32% fixed chance to dispel one buff on the enemy target. The additional crit rate is pretty nice, as for the second part, not so much. At S1, the chance to dispel a buff from an enemy is 16%, which is a bit too low in my opinion to be relied upon. So you would purely see this as a crit rate stat stick. But if you do want one of those, the Herta Shop LightCone is better. You are able to achieve S5 with it for free over having to spend money, and when you manage to, it will provide 16% crit rate and an additional 16% if the enemy is below 50% HP. It is conditional, I know, but below 50% HP isn't that bad. It will raise your crit rate to 32%, which is a huge boost. Additionally, increases your attack by 40% for 2 turns when you defeat an enemy. So in a mode like Pure Fiction where there's tons of enemies, you could possibly have this at 100% uptime, which is going to be huge in that case. So yeah, as for the Battle Pass option, it's just majorly outclassed by the Herta Store option, which you can get to S5 for free. Also, a 5-star LightCone, so more stats too. Going over the Abundance LightCone now, Warmth shortens cold nights, increases the wearer's max HP by 16 to 32%, and when you use a basic attack or skill, restores all allies HP by an amount equal to 2 to 4% of their respective max HP. The increased max HP is solid since you would gain 16% at S1, but the 2% additional heal when using a basic or skill is just alright. It would have been very good if the multiplier was just a bit higher, and you would think so since you have to pay for this LightCone. There are quite a few alternatives you can run that can offer similar advantages. I personally think the Abundance LightCone we got for free in the event that dropped with Huohuo is much better. At S5 you gain 12% max HP and your healing is increased by 28% when you use a skill lasting for 2 turns. Also, you do have Lightcones that can provide bonus healing as well as energy regeneration rate, which I think is better value since you can just pop the ult sooner. One example would be Post-Op Confrontation, which increases your energy regen by 8% and 12% increased healing through the ult at S1. If you did miss out on the Huohuo event LightCone, the Abundance Battle Pass one, it could be alright to pick up, but I would recommend going for something like Post-Op. As for the Destruction LightCone, Nowhere to Run increases the wearer's attack by 24 to 48%, and whenever the wearer defeats an enemy, they restore HP equal to 12 to 24% of their attack. Now in situations like Pure Fiction, this LightCone could be pretty valuable since you are blitzing through a lot of enemies. But if you are running a Sustainer, this LightCone could easily be swapped out for a Secret Vow that increases the overall damage by the wearer by 20%. Also an additional 20% if the enemy's HP is higher than the wearer. You also have on the Fall of an Ion the Her to Store LightCone option, which can provide up to 16% attack for 4 turns when the wearer just attacks. Also, whenever the wearer weakness breaks an enemy, which would be often, the wearer's damage increases up to 24% for 2 turns. So really, it would be better for your DPS characters to be able to deal more damage rather than thinking about their safety. That's for the Sustainers to think about. So ultimately, with the Battle Pass option, you are missing out on quite a bit of DPS potential. The Nihility LightCone we will meet again is very weird, to be blunt. After the wearer uses a basic attack or skill, the wearer deals 48 to 96% of attack as additional damage to a random enemy. Now off the rip, there wouldn't be many characters that can benefit from this LightCone, as majority of Nihility characters would prefer to gain additional dot damage or increase their effect hit rate. And there are much better alternatives that can provide those exact stats that you need. On top of that, characters that could run this LightCone, being Acheron or Welt, have the option of Good Night Sleep Well, which increases the damage by 12 to 24% and it doesn't scale on their attack. Also, the random aspect from We Will Meet Again is completely trash, so I would not recommend this LightCone to be picked up if I'm honest. Finally, the Preservation LightCone, This Is Me, increases the wearer's defense by 16 to 32%. Also, increases the damage of the wearer when they use the ultimate by 60 to 120% of the wearer's defense. Now, unless you are building a Fushuan or March 7th to be some sort of DPS, I see little value with the increased damage through the ult. The defense increase is solid, being 16% at S1, but then you have Day 1 of My New Life that can also provide 16% increased defense and can provide increased damage res by 8% to the team. So given it's for a preservation character and their purpose is to sustain, I would personally prefer to run something like Day 1 of My New Life that can provide more sustainability, rather than the increased damage through the ultimate, which you wouldn't gain much value from as you aren't relying on your preservation character to be your DPS. So there you have it. Of course, again, if you are in desperate need of a Destruction LightCone and you are settled with your Erudition and Harmony LightCones, knock yourself out. You will know exactly what your account needs. But overall, the Erudition and Harmony LightCones I believe would bring the most value from the selection, and the Erudition one being first. But to be clear, I wouldn't recommend buying the Battle Pass just for the LightCones. You can acquire much better alternatives without spending money. But if you are picking up the Battle Pass for the sake of resources, then fair enough. With that, if you guys did enjoy the video, please subscribe, would really appreciate it, and drop a like. Also, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, let me know in the comments. Lastly, if you guys have any other suggestions on what you would want to see from myself, let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to cover it. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.